The world's number one golfer might be winning major championships with illegal equipment, and the most shocking part is nobody's allowed to check. Stay right here, because what I'm about to show you is the kind of story that powerful brands spend millions of dollars trying to keep quiet. This is not a rumor. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is a two-time major champion on the record at a live major championship saying out loud that the system designed to protect fair competition is broken. And the man sitting at the center of all of it, a $100 million commercial empire, walking around in Nike gear, swinging tailor-made clubs, wearing a Rolex, playing a Titleist ball, is Scottie Scheffler. Before we go any further, if you want the full breakdown when the equipment testing results come out of the 2026 US Open, subscribe right now and hit the bell, because this story is moving fast and the next chapter drops in days. Now let's get into it. Scottie Scheffler is not just the best golfer on the planet right now. He is the most commercially valuable athlete professional golf has ever produced. He became only the third player in history, alongside Tiger Woods and Rory McIlroy, to cross $100 million in career earnings on the PGA Tour alone. And that number does not include a single dollar of endorsement income. The endorsement money is where this story actually lives. He wears Nike head-to-toe apparel, footwear, cap, under a deal that industry insiders estimate is worth 8 figures per year. He plays tailor-made clubs under a multi-year contract. Huntington Bank branding sits on his bag. A Rolex Submariner sits on his wrist. He flies net jets. And here is the detail that should make every equipment manufacturer uncomfortable. He plays a Titleist Pro 5 one ball, not a tailor-made ball, Titleist, under a completely separate endorsement deal that runs simultaneously alongside his tailor-made club contract. Think about what that means. The most commercially dominant golfer in the world is the face of two competing equipment philosophies at the same time. His irons say tailor-made, his ball says Titleist, and right now, both of those brands are sitting in the middle of the most serious equipment integrity conversation professional golf has ever had. Here is where the story turns. At the 2025 PGA Championship at Quail Hollow, something happened that should have been the front page of every sports outlet on earth and somehow was not. Rory McIlroy arrived at the tournament with a tailor-made driver that was flagged during pre-round equipment testing. Flagged, meaning it did not conform to the rules as tested. He was forced to pull that driver from his bag before his first round and scramble for a backup. That alone is a massive story. One of the 2 or 3 most famous golfers alive, the face of TaylorMade alongside Scheffler, competing in a major championship with equipment that failed conformity testing. But that is not even the part of the story I need you to stay for, because what happened next is far more uncomfortable than anything that happened to McIlroy. Scheffler was leading the tournament, and during the event, he switched drivers. He moved from his primary driver to a backup, the exact same type of switch that had just forced McIlroy's hand on the equipment testing issue. And here is the critical part. Scheffler had not been tested. And I need you to understand who said that out loud and where and why it matters so much. Xander Schauffele is the reigning Open Championship and PGA Championship winner. He is one of the most measured, careful, precisely spoken people in professional golf. He is Scheffler's own Ryder Cup teammate. He does not make reckless statements. He does not throw accusations around. So when a Golf Week reporter asked him about what was happening with equipment at the 2025 PGA Championship, the words he chose were surgical. He said Scheffler was winning the tournament, that he had switched to his backup too, and then he said something that should have stopped the entire golf world in its tracks. He said full field driver testing at majors should be mandatory. He said it is not right to test only 50 players. He said if you are in it for the spirit of the game, and the whole point is to protect the integrity of the field, you cannot only test some of the field. That is Scheffler's own teammate standing at a live major championship, while Scheffler is leading the leaderboard, publicly questioning whether the testing system is protecting everyone in the field. Not in a private conversation, not anonymously. On the record, to a reporter while the event was still being played. Let that settle for a moment, because we are going to come back to exactly what that means at Shinnecock Hills. Now, I want you to step completely outside of Scheffler and TaylorMade and billion-dollar endorsement deals for a moment, and I want you to imagine a very different golfer. You are ranked 85th in the world. You do not have a team of TaylorMade engineers designing your equipment to the absolute outer edge of what the rules allow. You are not the face of any brand. You fund parts of your equipment yourself. You negotiate your specs without a team of scientists behind you. You walk into the testing tent at a major championship because you happen to be one of the 50 players selected. Your equipment gets checked. You have adjusted, calibrated, and been careful every single time a compliance call came your way. And then you watch the player at the top of the leaderboard, the one with a dedicated equipment rep in the field, a team of engineers back at the lab, a multi-year contract worth more than your entire career earnings, switch to a backup driver mid-tournament and win the major. And nobody checked his backup because he was not in the testing pool. That is what Schauffele was describing. That is the gap the current system cannot see. Now, here is the layer of this story that nobody in golf media has properly connected yet, and it reframes everything. TaylorMade's dominance on the PGA Tour in 2026 is not subtle, and it is not coincidental. Through the first 6 events of the 2026 season, every single PGA Tour winner had a TaylorMade fairway wood or mini driver in their bag. Every single one, 100%. Chris Gotterup won twice with TaylorMade metal. Scheffler won the American Express with TaylorMade fairway woods. Colin Morikawa won Pebble Beach. Justin Rose won the Farmers. Jacob Bridgman won Riviera. That is not a talent story. That is a product story, a product advantage so significant that the Tour's result sheet reads like a TaylorMade catalog. And when you place that fact directly next to Schauffele's public statement about testing gaps at majors, when the brand dominating the Tour's win column is also the brand whose equipment has already been flagged once at a major this year, the question the USGA is going to have to answer at Shinnecock Hills becomes unavoidable. Stay with me because I haven't even told you the most important part of what is about to happen, and it involves a course that has not been kind to anyone. There is one prominent voice that has pushed back against the idea that the equipment arms race is a threat to Tour integrity, and the name will surprise you. Tiger Woods, the man who spent years in golf's most famous equipment deal with Nike, who now sits on the PGA Tour Policy Board and chairs the Future Competition Committee, said at the Hero World Challenge in December that commercial competition between brands drives product innovation and makes the sport stronger. And in a narrow sense, he is not wrong. Equipment competition does push technology forward. The history of the game is full of it. Ben Hogan's clubs, Nicklaus and Titleist, Tiger and Nike. But here is where even Tiger's defense of the system falls completely apart under the weight of what is actually happening right now. The testing infrastructure that exists today was not designed for an era where one brand wins 100% of Tour events over a 6-week stretch. It was not designed for a world where the most dominant player in the sport plays equipment from 3 different brands under 3 separate sponsorship contracts simultaneously. And it was absolutely not designed for an era where a 2-time major champion questions on the record at a live major whether the field is being fully protected. Tiger defends the system. The system was not built for this moment. And now everything converges at Shinnecock Hills. The 2026 US Open begins June 18th. And Scheffler arrives carrying the TaylorMade QI10 4D driver, the latest iteration of the same product line that produced the backup driver question at Quail Hollow last year. The USGA runs equipment testing at US Opens, not the PGA Tour. They set their own standards, their own testing pool size, their own conformity protocols. They will test equipment. They will not test everyone. The last time the US Open was held at Shinnecock Hills in 2018, the winning score was 1 over par. The USGA setup became so extreme that conditions turned unplayable mid-round. They were forced to water the greens during live competition. They issued a public apology. That is the venue these questions are arriving at, a course that exposed the USGA's own governance failures the last time they brought the world's best players there. And this time, Scheffler arrives not just as the world #1 chasing a career Grand Slam, He arrives on his 30th birthday carrying 5 major brand logos on his person simultaneously, playing out of a very public caddy relationship under intense pressure and trailing a cloud of equipment questions his own teammate put there publicly 1 year ago. The entire commercial architecture of elite professional golf is about to walk onto the most scrutinizing stage in the sport. Here is what I want you to hold on to as we go into the next 2 weeks. The equipment arms race in professional golf is not fundamentally about cheating. Nobody called Scheffler a cheater. That is not what Schauffele said. What Schauffele said is more unsettling than that because it does not have a clean villain. He said the system cannot see everything. And when the system cannot see everything, the players with the most sophisticated brand infrastructure, the biggest contracts, the most dedicated reps, the most advanced engineering teams, operate in a space the rules have not fully mapped. The brands are not breaking the rules. They are simply running faster than the rules can run. And the player carrying the most brand weight in the history of the sport is about to tee it up at a course that once embarrassed the governing body running the tournament. If the USGA tests 50 players at Shinnecock Hills and Scheffler is not one of them and he wins, Schauffele's words from Quail Hollow are going to echo in a way that the entire sport will not be able to ignore. Subscribe right now if you want the full breakdown the moment those testing results become available, because this story does not end on the first tee Thursday morning. This is just where it gets loud.